Hello everyone and welcome to section 2, developing must-have elements of your web project in Photoshop. The name of the first video is building main website structures, header, body and footer. First of all, we're going to understand what does header mean. Usually the header is the strip across the top of a web page with a big heading and a logo. So this is the part where you can place the main navigation bar, some quick links. For example, you can also include a search bar there. And there are really a lot of opportunities to build a header of your website depending on the purposes of the website. After that, the body and its content. This is the main part of every single web page that you're going to have, because all the elements that you're going to include in your web projects are going to be placed inside this body section. They could be, for example, sliders, different links, articles, forms, and so on. And that's the reason why the body is so important. And usually at the bottom of every website, you're going to find the footer with copyright text, for example, quick links, contact information of the owner of the website or the business. And this is a structure of a website that contains really summarized information, and it's usually placed on the bottom of every single web page. So we're opening Photoshop now. And as you can see here, I have opened this artboard1 file here, and we're going to build a very simple header of a web page in this video. But first of all, I want you to show some different types of website constructions. For this reason, I'm going to use the shape tool, and I'm going to draw some rectangles just to explain you what are the different types of websites. So for example, we can have e-commerce website, we can have blog, we can have social media, we can have a brochure website, which is only presenting, for example, a special offer of a company or something like that. We can have a news website, and depending on the purpose of the website, there are many structures that can be used for these purposes. So for example, if you're drawing a header, it could be only a small container that is going to have navigation in it, a logo, for example, search bar, and so on. But some of the websites are using extended headers that are including also a place where you can add, for example, a slider. Let's say this here. This could be your slider, and after that you're going to start with the main content of the website. In this slider you can include, for example, some headings, some important messages if you have special offers or different special occasions like events of your company that you want to have on the top front page of your website. You can include them in this header. When talking about the body, there are a lot of constructions that can be used. For example, we can have it separated. We can have a main part of the body, which is going to contain different articles, different multimedia files, and we can have a sidebar, which is going to have, for example, a list of different categories, some links that are leading you to different parts of the web project, and so on and so on. And here it's important to know that the grid system allows you to make different combinations of blocks in order to build the website that you want. And the footer, of course, you can use just a single strip that is going to contain, for example, copyrights of your company, and for example a quick link that is leading to your contact information. But of course it can be a lot more extended, containing more links, some multimedia, for example a map with your address of the company or your business. And I just want to say that there are a lot of varieties of building up a web page structure. So it's not obligatory to have the footer on the top and the footer on the bottom. Of course, modern technologies and modern designers are using different techniques, for example, for fixing the footer and having it not only on the bottom of the web page, or just using very big navigations that are extending to almost the whole web page that you're creating. So this is just a sample of a website structure. So the thing that I'm going to do now is proceeding with moving these guidelines here in order to create separated parts for our navigation bar, for our logo, and very simple icons, for example, for social media profiles. So I'm just going to use the move tool, and I'm going to make some place. For example, I don't need this guide here, so this is going to be the place for my logo. I'm going to move this to this direction here and make it on this way. I'm going to repeat with this one, after that with this one, and finally with this. So we have now separated fields for the parts of the navigation that we're going to create. So I'm going to move this line a little bit to the bottom, let's say to this level here. And the thing that I'm going to do is adding a new rectangle that is going to be our logo. So I'm going to draw it right over there. And I'm going to switch the color from this brownish color, let's say, to something lighter like this light gray color here. So I'm going to pick it here. And this is going to be the place for our logo. And I'm going to create similar blocks for the navigation part. So I'm going to draw this one more here, one more here. And that is, for example, we're going to have 3 links to different pages on our website. And the last thing that I'm going to do is just adding 2 smaller rectangles for the social media links. So I'm going to draw this and this. So I'm going to use the move tool right now in order to make them look more similar. Let's say this is okay, and I'm going to transform it a little bit from the edit menu, free transform, in order to make it fit this one. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is using some effects for the fields of the navigation that I'm creating. So I'm just going to use the move tool again in order to select different layers. As you can see, they're being selected here automatically when I click on them here with the move tool. So the next thing is to make them a little bit more narrow. I'm going to use free transform again. I'm just going to bring them a little bit to the top. Let's say to this level is okay, pressing enter and repeating the operation for the other ones. Okay, now, so I'm just going to move these 2 to the top as well. And now we're ready to start filling some content inside. So the first thing I'm going to do is placing some fancy text here in the logo section. So I'm going to use the type tool. And I'm going to press on this rectangle here. And I'm going to delete this preset text and type just logo. Okay. So I'm selecting this layer with the logo. And I'm going to increase its size by double clicking on it and increasing the size, let's say, to 48 points. After that, changing, for example, the font to something more interesting. Let's say this one here, increasing the size a little bit more. Okay, and I'm just going to use the free transform tool again in order to move it. But I need to make sure that I have selected the right layer. So this is the layer that I have selected. So I'm just going to separate it from the rectangle because it was connected to the rectangle. And I'm just going to move it to the center of the rectangle. So I think that it is okay right that. So this is going to be your demonstration logo for the website you're creating. And after that, I'm just going to select all the other rectangles and apply some layer styles to them in order to make them look more like a navigation bar. So I'm going to expand the layers menu a little bit. I'm going to double click on the first one. And you can see this layer style panel is opening after double clicking. I'm going to move it a little bit to this side. And after that, we are able to add different effects here. So for example, I'm going to add some inner shadow. I'm going to select it and I'm going to increase the opacity a little bit and of course play a little bit with these parameters here that are going to allow me to add this effect. Okay, I think it's okay right that. I'm going to press OK. And it is good because I can apply the same layer styles to all the other layers by right-clicking here and selecting copy layer style. After that, I'm going to select the next rectangle and paste the layer style to it. And I'm going to repeat the same for the third rectangle. Okay, so now we're ready with the rectangles for our navigation. The next thing that I'm going to do is just adding some text to the different navigation elements. Using the typing tool, I'm going to type something like home and move it here. I'm going to use the move tool for that. And the arrows of my keyboard, I'm going to decrease the font size a little bit. Okay. That is great. I'm just going to duplicate this several times, duplicate layer, let's say about us, and I'm going to move it. And I'm going to duplicate this one again. Contacts. Okay. And I'm going to move it right there. So this is the way you're going to create the simple navigation bar. I'm going to change the text here. And I'm going to move it to the right position using the move tool. Okay, I think that it looks okay now. So here for this placeholding rectangles for the social media links, you can add the logo of a specific social media or just let it in this way with just typing, for example, the name of the social media here over the rectangle box. And this is the main navigation that we managed to create. So the next thing that I'm going to do is adding a simple slider here beyond the logo and the navigation bar. In order to do this, I'm going to add another rectangle, which is going to be bigger, starting from here, let's say to here. Okay, we have successfully created it. And I'm just going to bring it a little bit back in order to be behind the other layers. Okay. Behind this one as well. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is to include a stock image. For example, I have selected this one here. I'm going to select the whole image using edit, copy, and paste it to this project. Paste. So it was pasted right over this new rectangle that we have created. And I'm now going to use a layer masking technique in order to fit this image inside the box that we have created inside this rectangle 11 here. So I'm just going to select first of all the layer with the rectangle, and I'm going to click on this button here, which is add layer mask. Okay, I'm going to select the image that I want to put into this mask, and holding the Alt button of your keyboard, pressing right here until you see this icon appearing, pressing. And now we're ready. We have successfully entered this image inside the rectangle 11 here layer. So I'm going to transform a little bit this image using the free transform tool. I'm going to decrease its size a little bit. And now just move it to the center. A little bit more. Just like that. Pressing enter. And now we have successfully created a very demonstrational slider here. So of course, if I want to add some text here, it won't be very readable because there are a lot of bright parts of this image. In order to fix this, I'm going to use again some layer styles. I'm going to double click this layer and I'm going to apply some gradient overlay. Selecting the gradient overlay, you can select a specific overlay that you want to add. For example, this one is okay for me. Pressing OK. And I can increase the opacity of it. And of course, change the angle of it. Of course, we have selected the blending mode here, which is green, but I'm going to use the darken blending mode in order to use the darker colors to appear over the image that we are blending it with this gradient overlay. So I'm just going to decrease now the opacity a little bit, let's say to 68%, pressing OK. And now we are ready with our main slider and we are just able to add some heading text here. For example, hello world. I'm going to change the color of the text to white and I'm going to increase the size, let's say to 120. Okay, so now I'm able to move it down. And that's the way you're going to create your first header in Adobe Photoshop. Of course, if your website is going to be responsive, you can add at every point of the building of this website structure a simple icon, for example, that is going to expand the sidebar navigation menu that is going to be used, for example, on mobile devices. But this is, of course, an option that you can choose, and I'm going to add this icon right here. So, for example, I'm going to use one of the blocks for the social media links, and I'm just going to add, let's say, a plus sign here. So this is going to be like a sign that is going to open the mobile menu. I'm going to change the color to a darker one, pressing OK, decreasing the font, let's say, to 72. And I just need to move it over all the other layers because it's behind them right now. Okay, and I'm just going to use the move tool in order to move it a little bit. Okay, that's it. So for example, this could be an icon for expanding a larger menu of your website, depending, of course, on that, if it's going to be responsive and if you're going to have a mobile version of it. Why is it important? These three main elements are obligatory for every single page of your web design project. In this video you have learned how to create the three main elements of every single page, header, body and footer, and how to use an up-to-date content template for filling them.